This is how a World Cup changes everything. Because before Switzerland played Bosnia, most casual football fans probably had no real idea who Johan Manzambi was. Freiburg fans, of course, they knew. Bundesliga watchers, they knew. Scouts definitely knew. But after coming off the bench, scoring twice, changing the game and helping Switzerland take a massive step towards the knockout stages, now people are going to start asking questions. And the question is simple. Who is this guy? Because this is not just some random player having one good game. This is a 20-year-old Swiss midfielder who has already been developing nicely in the Bundesliga. A player who can play as a defensive midfielder, a central midfielder, an attacking midfielder. Heck, he can even play out wide or up front if needed, with number 9 on his back. And when you look at the profile, you start to understand why clubs may start paying serious attention if they haven't already. Because Johan Manzambi is not easy to define, and that's exactly what makes him interesting and why this video is needed. So make sure you guys stay locked in. Let's get into it. So Manzambi currently playing for Freiburg in the Bundesliga. He is right-footed, and this season he has started to become one of those players people quietly keep an eye on. In the Bundesliga, he has scored 5 goals and 4 assists, and for a player who's listed primarily as a defensive midfielder, that immediately tells you something. This is not a basic holding midfielder. This is not someone who just sits in front of the back four and plays 5-yard passes all game. Manzambi's a little bit different. He's a midfielder with attacking instincts, a ball carrier, a runner, a dual player, a player who can arrive in the box, press high, break lines, and still give you enough physical work to operate deeper. That is why the Swiss Army knife label actually fits him. Because when you look at the positions he has played, it's almost ridiculous. As I mentioned before, defensive mid, central mid, attacking mid, right wing, left wing, striker. Now, that does not mean he is world-class in every role. I promise you, he's not. But it does tell you that coaches trust him to understand different jobs. And at the age of 20, for me, that's quite a big deal. So now taking a look at his style of play. Now, obviously, when you look at his positioning, he's a midfielder / defensive midfielder, I guess. And when people hear defensive midfielder, the first thing they think of is someone who's a bit of a destroyer. That seems to be the buzzword in the football landscape at the moment. You know, someone who tackles, screens, recycles the ball, and tries to keep things really simple. But if you actually watch him, he is much more dynamic than that. The first thing that jumps out is the ball carrying. Manzambi does not just receive the ball and move it sideways. He wants to travel. He wants to push it into space. He wants to turn defensive phases into attacking phases. And for me, that's why his progressive carrying numbers stand out so much. He's very good at using that first burst to get away from pressure. He receives, shifts his body, protects the ball, then drives. And once he gets moving, he's very difficult to stop. Not because he's the biggest midfielder in the world, but because he has that combination of balance, power, and coordination. He can ride the contact, he can stay upright, he can carry through the midfield, and he can move the team 20, 30, 40 yards up the pitch. That, for me, is one of the biggest reasons his profile is so exciting, because modern football loves midfielders who can break pressure by carrying the ball. A pass, of course, can break a line, but a carry can destroy the shape completely. And Manzambi has that in his game. But he's not just an athlete. That's quite important, because sometimes when a young player is physically gifted, people just focus on the running. It's quite stereotypical. But with Manzambi, there's more to it. His movement is intelligent. He knows when to arrive late. He knows when to drift away from pressure. He knows when to attack the space around the box, and that is why he can score goals. You saw it for Switzerland the other day. He comes on, the game opens up, and suddenly he is arriving in dangerous areas, and that's a real trait. Some midfielders get near the box and look uncomfortable. Manzambi looks like he wants to affect the game. His player traits show that clearly. Shot attempts are high, goals are high compared to midfielders, aerial duels are strong, touches are solid, but defensive contributions and chances created, they're not quite the elite level and high level yet. And that gives you the full picture. He's not a perfect midfielder, he's not a pure controller, he's not a metronome, whatever that is. He's not someone who's going to dominate games by just passing rhythm. He's more of a momentum player, a player who can change the speed of a game, a player who can carry, burst, press, shoot, and arrive. That is why he feels more like a modern hybrid midfielder than an old school number 6. And the positional versatility adds another layer. If you play him deeper, he can receive, turn and drive through the pressure. If you play him as a central midfielder, he can move box to box. If you push him higher, he can press aggressively and attack second balls. If you try to use him wide, he can receive in space and carry inside. And if you use him as a striker or second striker, he can make runs, attack the box and use his physicality. That for me, the flexible ability and versatility that he's got is probably why scouts will be watching closely. Because with players like this, you're not just buying one position, you're buying options. Now, the weaknesses are also clear because the passing still has room to improve. His forward pass volume and forward pass completion are not outrageous. So if a top team wanted him as a deep midfielder, they would probably need to develop that side of his game. Can he control tempo? Can he dictate play? Can he consistently progress the ball with passing, not just carrying? That for me is probably where the questions are going to lie with him. His possession winning numbers are also not as dominant as you might expect for someone listed as a defensive midfielder. So again, this is why you have to understand the profile properly. He's not just a pure ball winner. He's not just a pure creator. He's not just a pure attacker. He's a hybrid. And with hybrid players, the key is finding the right role. Put him in a system where he has freedom to carry, arrive, press, and attack space. And for me, can look dangerous. If you put him in a rigid holding midfield role where he has to sit, dictate, and control every phase, you might not get the best version of him. That is why the World Cup could be so important for him, because international tournaments are perfect for players like this. The games become a bit more emotional, spaces open up, substitutes can change momentum, and when Manzambi comes on fresh with that energy and directness, he can hurt tired defenders. That is exactly what happened against Bosnia. He did not just score 2 goals, he changed the feeling of the game. And sometimes that is what pushes a player on to a bigger stage. So my verdict on Johan Manzambi is that, listen, I think he's a really, really good, promising player. I think a player who can play in that many positions is always going to be useful for many different clubs, not just necessarily bigger clubs. I think bigger clubs, of course, are looking at him seriously. He, of course, needs to kind of clean up with certain attributes. You know, his passing can improve, defensive consistency can improve. The role probably needs a bit more defining, though. I think for a central midfielder to be wearing the number 9 kind of tells me that maybe even he is a little bit confused. But listen, he's got all the raw tools to kind of progress in the game. He's got the burst, the carrying, the box threat, physicality, and of course, that level of versatility can help in such ways. So it is really just about, I guess, for me, I'd be staying at maybe a Freiburg for another season, just developing your game a little bit more, where the spotlight isn't so heavy on you and you can actually make the mistakes that you need to make in order for you to actually, get better. But listen, let me know what you guys think in the comment sections in regards to Manzambi. Have you enjoyed his performance at the time of this video in the World Cup? How good do you think he could possibly become? Do you think he's a player that might get that move in the summer? I've heard talks about Italy or Spain potentially taking him. So let me know what you guys think in regards to Manzambi. Keep the same energy, stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys real soon. Peace.